In the fall of 1944, as the Allied armies pushed deeper into Nazi-occupied Europe, a tank battalion entered the front lines that many American commanders had never expected to see in combat. Its soldiers were African American, wearing the Black Panther patch on their uniforms, and they carried a determination forged through years of segregation and prejudice. They had trained longer, drilled harder, and waited more patiently than almost any other armored unit in the United States Army. When their moment finally came, they would fight for 183 straight days, driving through France, Belgium, and Germany, and earning a combat reputation that demanded respect. Yet for decades, almost no one outside military history circles knew their name. They were the 761st Tank Battalion, a unit that had to fight two battles at once, one against Nazi Germany and one against the racial discrimination inside their own country. Their story began in 1942, at a time when the United States Army was officially segregated. Most black soldiers were assigned to support roles, not frontline combat positions. Influential newspapers in the African American community, civil rights groups, and several political leaders pressed the War Department to allow black soldiers to serve in tank units. The Army reluctantly agreed to form an all-black armored battalion with white officers overseeing the command structure. The decision was seen as experimental rather than supportive. Many in the military leadership doubted the battalion would ever see real combat, believing African American soldiers were better suited for labor or supply duties. The men who volunteered for the 761st understood exactly what they were up against. They were determined to prove the skeptics wrong. The battalion's first major training assignment took place at Camp Claiborne in Louisiana. Life on the base was difficult not only because tank training was physically demanding, but also because of the segregation laws in the surrounding area. Off-duty soldiers had to navigate restaurants and stores that would not serve them, and some local residents treated them with hostility. Inside the camp, equipment shortages and limited resources slowed early progress. New tanks were prioritized for white units, so the 761st trained on older vehicles until more modern Shermans became available later in the war. Despite these obstacles, the men developed strong discipline and technical skill. Tank crews practiced gunnery, coordination with infantry, nighttime maneuvers, and rapid deployment drills. Their instructors noted that the soldiers of the 761 Saint were determined, focused, and willing to repeat exercises until they achieved near-perfect execution. In 1943 and 1944, the men continued advanced armored training at Camp Hood, Texas, a major tank warfare school. Here, the battalion refined the ability to maneuver under pressure, fire while moving, and use terrain to shield their tanks from enemy fire. These skills would later become essential against German positions built to resist armored assaults. At Camp Hood, the 761 Saint also began to earn the respect of some instructors who initially doubted them. Reports from officers noted that the battalion had developed exceptional discipline, with crews showing strong coordination inside their tanks. While the Army remained hesitant to send them to the front, the battalion was becoming one of the most well-trained armored units in the country. As the war in Europe intensified, the Army began running out of fresh, experienced crews. This growing need for armored units opened the door for the 761 Saint. In the fall of 1944, General George S. Patton's Third Army was preparing for rapid movement across Europe. Patton was known for his aggressive tactics and believed in pressing forward without hesitation. He needed additional tank battalions to reinforce gaps in the armored line. Although Patton had not originally supported deploying African American tank units, he valued effectiveness over theory. When he reviewed the combat readiness reports for the 761st, he found a battalion that was disciplined, trained, and eager to fight. Patton approved them for combat operations, giving them an opportunity they had been denied for nearly 2 years. The battalion received late-model M4 Sherman tanks, the standard American medium tank of the war. The Sherman was reliable and easy to maintain, but it had limitations. Its armor and 75mm gun were often outmatched by German Panther and Tiger tanks. The men of the 761 Saint knew they would have to rely on speed, teamwork, and careful maneuvering to survive engagements against heavier enemy armor. Their mechanics worked constantly to keep the tanks in peak condition, while crews inspected every component before deployment. Morale was high. They understood the importance of the moment and were determined not to waste it. In October 1944, the 761st arrived in France. The European countryside was muddy, rain-soaked, and crowded with supply convoys and retreating German units. For many soldiers, it was their first time outside the United States. They were assigned to the 26th Infantry Division at first, then later to additional units within Patton's Third Army as the front shifted. Some white soldiers initially doubted they would perform well in combat, but attitudes changed quickly once the 761 Saint began demonstrating professionalism and readiness in staging areas. They practiced rapid deployment from column formation to battle line, coordinated with infantry units, and studied German defensive tactics. Their first major combat assignment came on November the 7th, 1944, in northeastern France. The terrain was challenging. Forests, hills, and small towns created natural choke points where German anti-tank guns could be hidden. The 761st was ordered to support infantry in capturing towns held by German forces. As they moved forward, they encountered their first enemy fire. German machine guns and anti-tank rounds struck the area around the lead tanks, forcing the battalion to maneuver quickly. The crews responded with steady discipline, firing on enemy positions and using terrain for cover. Their early engagements proved they could handle real combat. Officers noted that the battalion demonstrated strong coordination and did not panic under fire. Over the next several days, the 761st continued to push through German defenses, supporting infantry attacks and clearing roadways. They encountered fortified positions, minefields, and artillery fire. Some tanks were damaged and several men were wounded or killed, but the battalion advanced steadily and showed a level of resilience that impressed their commanders. Word spread among nearby units that the Black Panthers fought with determination and skill. Patton's staff took notice, recognizing that this battalion had become an asset capable of supporting the Army's rapid advance across France. By the end of November, the 761st found itself moving toward more intense combat zones as the German Army stiffened its resistance. The battalion was now being prepared for some of the most challenging operations of the European campaign. Their first experience in battle had proven their readiness. Ahead of them lay fortified German lines, difficult terrain, and one of the harshest winters of the war. The men understood that the months to come would test every skill they had learned during training. Their performance had already begun to change misconceptions within the Army. Now they would face the operations that would define their legacy. By early December 1944, the 761 Tank Battalion was moving steadily across northeastern France, pushing deeper into territory where German resistance grew tougher by the day. Their early combat missions had proven the battalion's readiness, but now they were entering regions defended by fortified German positions, intricate roadblocks, and anti-tank obstacles that had been built years earlier. Ahead of them lay the outer defenses of the German border, including sections of the Siegfried Line. This system of bunkers, trenches, minefields, and hardened firing points represented some of the most difficult challenges American forces would face. The 761st was assigned to help infantry units breach these defenses, a task that required coordinated armor movement and careful navigation through terrain designed to trap advancing tanks. During these operations, the battalion encountered anti-tank guns hidden in tree lines and reinforced houses. German crews used the terrain to maximum advantage, firing at advancing Shermans from narrow angles. The men of the 761st responded with precise communication between drivers, loaders, and gunners. When enemy positions opened fire, the tanks maneuvered quickly to avoid being immobilized. Machine gun nests and infantry with anti-tank weapons positioned inside buildings posed constant danger. To counter these threats, the battalion worked closely with accompanying infantry, clearing each defensive point as they advanced. These early December operations were costly. Several tanks were lost to mines or direct hits from German guns, and casualties mounted. Yet the battalion pressed forward, successfully supporting the breakthrough of key defensive points and allowing infantry divisions to advance toward the German border. As the Siegfried Line began to fall in multiple sectors, the battalion shifted again with Patton's rapid operational pace. In mid-December, German forces launched a massive counteroffensive through the Ardennes forest, an attack now known as the Battle of the Bulge. The sudden German assault caught many Allied units by surprise, creating a deep wedge in the lines and threatening to split the front. Patton redirected units from multiple directions to reinforce vulnerable sectors, and the 761 was among the armored units ordered to move quickly into the affected region. Winter weather brought freezing temperatures, snow, and limited visibility. Tank engines strained against the cold, and crews battled frostbite, exhaustion, and terrain that made maneuvering difficult. Despite these conditions, the battalion supported infantry in pushing back German forces attempting to expand their gains. They helped secure towns and road junctions that were essential for controlling movement through the region. The men fought under conditions far more severe than those they faced earlier in France. Ice and snow made hills treacherous for armored vehicles. German forces used the weather to conceal ambush positions. In these engagements, the 761 relied on the discipline developed during years of training. Tank commanders scanned ridgelines for hidden gun crews, while drivers carefully guided their Shermans along frozen ground. Mechanics worked long hours to keep engines running in sub-freezing temperatures. The battalion earned commendations for their performance during these winter battles, which helped stabilize parts of the American line during the Bulge. Among the soldiers who distinguished themselves during this period was Staff Sergeant Reuben Rivers. Earlier in November, during operations near Bougal in France, Rivers' tank struck a mine, injuring his leg. Despite the wound, he refused evacuation and returned to his tank with his leg bandaged. Days later, his unit faced well-defended German positions, blocking their advance. Rivers directed his tank forward to draw enemy fire away from the rest of the column, allowing his battalion to reposition and avoid a larger ambush. During this engagement, his tank was hit by enemy fire, and Rivers was killed in action. His leadership and refusal to abandon his crew were recorded in official reports, and decades later, he received the Medal of Honor for his actions. Rivers' bravery became one of the battalion's most documented stories, representing the courage many of its members displayed throughout the war. As the winter progressed, the battalion continued fighting through Belgium and into Germany. They faced stiff resistance from German anti-tank groups, including units equipped with handheld anti-tank weapons designed to target Sherman tanks at close range. The 761st supported attacks on fortified villages, sometimes engaging in street-to-street combat that required careful coordination. Tanks advanced through narrow roads, clearing obstacles while infantry moved alongside them to eliminate enemy fighters hidden in buildings. These engagements were dangerous and unpredictable, but the battalion helped secure several strategic positions, contributing to the broader effort that gradually forced German forces into retreat. By the spring of 1945, the 761st was advancing rapidly into Austria alongside elements of the 71st Infantry Division. In early May, American forces reached the outskirts of Gunskirchen lager, a subcamp of the Mauthausen concentration camp system. Soldiers from units entering the area, including members of the 761 operating in support roles alongside infantry, encountered thousands of prisoners suffering from starvation and disease. Conditions inside the camp were severe, with many prisoners too weak to stand. Accounts from American soldiers described the overwhelming situation as they provided immediate aid and coordinated medical support. While infantry units were the primary forces entering the camp, members of the 761 Chain were present in the area during these operations and assisted as part of the larger U.S. military effort. These events left a lasting impact on those who witnessed them, and testimonies from some veterans of the 761st reflect the emotional weight of what they encountered. Following the liberation efforts in Austria, the battalion continued engaging remaining pockets of German resistance until the war in Europe ended in May 1945. By the time fighting stopped, the 761st had participated in major campaigns across multiple regions, often under harsh conditions. They had supported the advance through France, fought in frigid conditions during the Battle of the Bulge, helped penetrate German defensive networks, and assisted during the liberation activities near Gunskirchen. Their combat record included significant contributions to operations that advanced the Allied front and supported the broader goals of Patton's Third Army. After the war, the battalion was disbanded and its members returned to a country where racial discrimination remained widespread. Despite their service, many veterans faced limited recognition and struggled to receive acknowledgement for their contributions. Official credit for the battalion's achievements was slow to develop, and for many years, their role in the European campaign received limited attention in mainstream historical accounts. It was not until 1978 that the 761st received the Presidential Unit Citation, formally recognizing their exceptional performance in combat. Additional honors followed, including medals for individual soldiers whose heroism had not been fully acknowledged during the war. Today, the legacy of the 761st Tank Battalion is recognized as an important part of American military history. Their service demonstrated the capability and professionalism of African American soldiers at a time when the military remained segregated. Their contributions helped challenge long-held prejudices and supported the eventual desegregation of the U.S. Armed Forces in 1948. Modern units honor their history, and historians continue to study their role in key operations of the European campaign. The battalion's story stands as a reminder of the determination and resilience of soldiers who served with distinction while facing barriers far beyond the battlefield. Their achievements remain a significant chapter in the story of World War II, and their legacy continues to inspire new generations. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed learning something new today, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment telling us what you thought of this story.